Hello, sweet people. All my friends are here. And the crazy light's coming through the blinds again. I should knock everything out of the way and fix that. I keep forgetting to. I try to do it later at night, but then I fall asleep. So, y'all, I got a message from my Lindsay today. My red-headed, blue-eyed baby that is on her way here, I do believe. She said they should be here about early morning. So maybe the next time you see me, if I don't come back on tonight later on with just some fibery chat, maybe if they let me, we'll have the kitties on. The manager and assistant manager. Bells and jewels. But we'll have to see, if that's cool with their folks. Okay, I'm gonna go this way. I am so sorry about this, y'all. I don't think I can do anything about this. That's worse, isn't it? See, I only have the drawing up. Oh, shoot. Now, if I pull that anymore, the whole blame thing will fall off. Oh, well. Maybe it'll go down in a minute. Maybe I'll put this big old yarn up here. No, that won't work. Oh, well. It is what it is. We'll make do. 17 is called Memories of the Lost Heroes, The Point, and Tom's Secret. But there was no hilarity in the little town that same tranquil Saturday afternoon. Oh, Rocky's jumping ship. Okay, Rocky. Quit being squirrely. The Harpers and Aunt Polly's family were being put into mourning with great grief and many tears. An unusual quiet possessed the village, although it was ordinarily quiet enough in all conscience. The villagers conducted their concerns with an absent air and talked little, but they sighed often. The Saturday holiday seemed a burden to the children. They had no heart in their sports and gradually gave them up. In the afternoon, Becky Thatcher found herself moping about the deserted schoolhouse yard and feeling very melancholy, but she found nothing there to comfort her. She soliloquized. I know what a soliloquy is, but I don't know if I said the past tense of that correctly. Oh, if only I had a brass andiron knob again. Remember, she gave it back to Tom. And a soliloquy is kind of like talking to yourself but out loud with an audience. You hear about it in Shakespeare sometime and other classics of that period, maybe. Let's see. But I haven't got anything now to remember him by, and she choked back a little sob. Presently she stopped and said to herself, it was right here. Oh, if it was to do over again, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say it for the whole world, but he's gone now. I'll never, never, never see him anymore. This thought broke her down, and she wandered away with the tears rolling down her cheeks. Then quite a group of boys and girls, playmates of Tom's and Joe's, came by and stood looking over their paling fence and talking in reverent tones of how Tom did so-and-so the last time they saw him, and how Joe said this and that. Small trifle, pregnant with awful prophecy, as they could easily see now, and each speaker pointed out the exact spot where the lost lad stood at the time, and then added something like, and I was a-standing just so, just as I am now, and as if you was him. I was as close as that. And he smiled just this way, and then something seemed to go all over me like awful, I never thought what it meant, of course, but I can see it now. Then there was a dispute about who saw the dead boys last in life, and many claimed that dismal distinction and offered evidence as more or less tampered with by the witness. And when it was ultimately decided who did see the departed last and who had exchanged the last words with them, the lucky parties took upon themselves a sort of sacred importance and were gaped at and envied by all the rest. One poor chap who had no other grandeur to offer and with tolerably manifest pride in the remembrance. Well, Tom Sawyer, he licked me once. In other words, fought him and won. But that bid for glory was a failure. Most of the boys could say that. And so that cheapened the distinction too much. The group loitered away, still recalling memories of the lost heroes in awed voices. When the Sunday school hour was finished the next morning, the bell began to toll. Instead of ringing in the usual way, it was a very still Sabbath, and the mournful sound seemed in keeping with the musing hush that lay upon nature. The villagers began to gather, loitering a moment in the vestibule to converse in whispers about the sad event. But there was no whispering in the house, only the funeral rustling of dresses as the women gathered to their seats disturbed the silence there. None could remember when the little church had been so full before. There was finally a waiting pause, an expectant dumbness, and then Aunt Polly entered, followed by Sid and Mary, and they by the Harper family, all in deep black, and the whole congregation, the old minister as well, rose reverently and stood until the mourners were seated in the front pew. Funereal rustling. I don't know how to say that. There was another communing silence, broken at intervals by muffled sobs, and then the minister spread his hands abroad and prayed. A moving hymn was sung, and the text followed, "I am the resurrection and the life." As the service proceeded, the clergyman drew such pictures of the graces, the winning ways, and the rare promise of the lost lads that every soul there, thinking he recognized these pictures, felt a pang in remembering that he had persistently blinded himself to them always before, and had as persistently seen only faults and flaws in the poor boys. The minister related many a touching incident in the lives of the departed too, which illustrated their sweet, generous natures, and the people could easily see now how noble and beautiful those episodes were, and remembered with grief that at the time they occurred, they seemed rank rascalities, well deserving of the cow, and rank rascalities is out and out absolute misbehaving. Well deserving of the cowhide, so a good whipping. The congregation became more and more moved as the pathetic tale went on, till at last the whole company broke down and joined the weeping mourners in a chorus of anguished sobs, the preacher himself giving way to his feelings and crying in the pulpit. There was a rustle in the gallery which nobody noticed. A moment later, the church door creaked. The minister raised his streaming eyes above his handkerchief and stood transfixed. First one, then another pair of eyes followed the minister's, and then almost with one impulse, the congregation rose and stared while the three dead boys came marching up the aisle. Tom in the lead, Joe next, and Huck, a ruin of drooping rags, sneaking sheepishly in the rear. They had been hid in the unused gallery listening to their own funeral sermon. Aunt Polly, Mary, and the Harpers threw themselves upon the restored ones, smothered them with kisses, and poured out thanksgivings, while poor Huck stood abashed and uncomfortable, not knowing exactly what to do or where to hide from so many unwelcoming eyes. He wavered and started to slink away, but Tom seized him and said, Aunt Polly, it ain't fair. Somebody's got to be glad to see Huck. And so they shall. I'm glad to see him, poor motherless thing. And the loving attentions Aunt Polly lavished upon him were the one thing capable of making him more uncomfortable than he was before. Suddenly, the minister shouted at the top of his voice, "Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Sing and put your hearts in it." And they did. Old Hundred swelled up with a triumphant burst, and while it shook the rafters, and Old Hundred it says this refers to the 100th Psalm in the Bible, and it's a song of thanksgiving to God for blessings received. 100 swelled up with a triumphant burst, and while it shook the rafters, Tom Sawyer the pirate looked around upon the envying juveniles about him and confessed in his heart that this was the proudest moment of his life. As the sold, and by here they mean slang for trick, it says, congregation trooped out, they said they would almost be willing to be made ridiculous again to hear Old Hundred sung like that once more. Tom got more cuffs and kisses that day, according to Aunt Polly's varying mood. So cuff is a kind of a punch, I guess. Then he had earned before in a year, and he hardly knew which expressed the most gratefulness to God and affection for himself. And that's all of 17. And y'all know I am just pickled tink again, because I thought, what am I going to do when we go to Gatlinburg? We're leaving Wednesday. And like I said, my kids will be here tomorrow. Hopefully to help me straighten out this mess if it can be done. But I've got a Kindle, and I checked to make sure I have Tom Sawyer on here. And I do. Because, you know, this is a library book and it has to be taken back. So that's why I'm saying that. And chapter 18. It's going to take a little while, so I'll just show you a few more whips and we'll stop there. I might come back on and read some more tonight. And then again, I may fall asleep. Not sure if I showed you this. This is going to be a cowl, and it's in the Marley Bird Chic Sheep, which I got on sale. You know, normally it was $10 at Hobby Lobby because it is merino wool, 100% superwash, I believe. It just says 100% wool. But at Hobby Lobby it was $9.99, but I got it on sale 75% off, so $2 and something. And I got all the colors they had, so I'm just going to make a striped cowl, and I'm not much further along with this hat. These things are in here in the craft room, and in the den I've got, oh, wow, a big mountains of whips in there, but I love the way this is pooling. Pooling just means how the colors come out. I love it when I can get yarn to like that planned pooling you've heard of before, and I have been successful at doing that before. I like to try to get the that argyle effect. You know what I mean? Y'all know what I mean. Like argyle socks. I just love this. And I'm not much further along on this either. That favorite shawl I like. And some of y'all had asked me about the pattern. If you go on AC Moore's site, now I'm going to forget how I told somebody. Liliana found it, Liliana Jorge. But you go to AC Moore's site, and I'm pretty sure there's a tab called Patterns. And the little sheet that I tore off and got was called The Easiest Shawl in the World. But on the side it says something about an easy knit shawl or something. But that's the same pattern that it is. And I had shown y'all bunch of my cotton that I have. This was some bulky, it's Lion brand. I think it's not homespun, hometown. And was looming a hat, which is so easy. All I do is these, what do they call them? E-wraps. You wrap it like this. I wish I was set up for tutorials. But you have 2 wraps on there. See, it's already got one. And it comes with the hook. The looms come with the tool. And you just take, and see how these have these little ridges down in there? I said the tool can get under there and just slide up and go over top of this. And then your work goes down through here and comes out the bottom. So this is just going to have a rolled brim, unless once you get it to come out some, then you can put these back on top of, once I have enough, then it can go back on top of that. And then you can go over top and make like a folded brim, but it's hemmed like it's in there. You can't unfold it. It's like a double brim. And so then you just go and go and go and go. It's the easiest thing in the world. There are lots of patterns you can do with it. I'm in awe of Llama Mama Kayla. You know, she's minus some fingers, but you would never know it at the stuff she makes. Good grief. I'm not talented enough to make the stuff she makes. But she's able to do it. Now, she may be able to, I'm sure she crochets and all like regular, but with knitting, it'd be kind of hard for her with the challenges, we'll just say it like that she has. So she can loom all kinds. She does amigurumi and all that. This hat, I don't believe I showed you. I've got lots of blue hats, and these are going to be for the Hat Not Hate program that Lion Brand does. And this is that, it's called, I believe you get it at Hobby Lobby, A Touch of Silk. And it is shiny and silky. It feels so good. But I know this doesn't look like a lot, but it's enough to make a hat because I've already got that much of one. Especially a kid's hat. And I had started one also with this, and I forgot what the name, it seems like this was that Cedar yarn, but I'm not 100% sure, but I've got some more that have the tag on them, so when I find that, I'll show you. So, I'm just trying to look at the brim here, yeah. I always do, like some people do a brim of like knit one, purl one, or whatever. I usually do what we call 2x2, and knit one, purl one is a 1x1. So knit 2, purl 2 is a 2x2 rib. It's just the rib I like, and it's stretchy. And you don't have to do a rib if you don't want to, but if you knit in the round, remember that you're going to come out with the stockinette stitch. You don't purl, you're just going to knit, knit, knit all the time. But because it's in the round, you're doing the wrong side and the right side as you knit, and it's going to make it curl. So if you don't do that rib to brim, it's going to curl up like it was on the loom knit. See how that is? But that's cool because you can have a rolled brim hat. I like those too. So that's just a little bit of the whips that are right around me. And Lordy, when these kids come in here, I'm kindly nervous because they're going to go, oh my gosh, my daughter's going to have a stroke. I think I said something about sending them pictures so they'd be ready, but I think I'll just let them come in and see it. They know me. They know how crazy I am. But it is worse than ever. My story scarf. I just love all my squirrels and stuff. Y'all know that. mainly I love y'all. Okay, signing off. See you in a little bit, Bells and Jules and Lindsay. And y'all say a prayer, if you would, for travel mercies for my kiddos and grandkiddos. And then Hannah, my youngest, will be coming from about 20 minutes away to hang out with us. And then we're off to Gatlinburg on Wednesday, but we'll still be recording and stuff. I will, and I hope that the kids will be able to come on with me too. Okay, be sweet. Don't be ugly. Love you.